Being in the Grateful Dead is in no way privilege, and I mean, it doesn't exempt you from anything particularly, and it doesn't, you know, and as far as the rewards are like this fleeting existential kind of reality, where really the most important thing is the gig that just happened. You know, that's like all of it. Everything that we've done is culminated in the last note that we played. And if it was a bad gig, it's like there's nothing but suicide, you know. Really, I mean, it's like it seems like the only reasonable thing to do is to end it all right now and forget it, you know. But the hope of that there will be a better one, yeah. The hope that there'll be a better one, you know, is, you know, like that's the ever-present possibility that things will change for the better. And luckily they change for the better often enough so that, you know, it isn't complete darkness. But the nature of the experience is such that it's just balanced really on the most recent experience, and just really none of the rest of it, no matter how good it's ever been or anything like that. If the last gig was a bum one, God, that's where you're stuck. You're sort of stuck there.
Do you get suspicious if you have a streak where you have like
then I start worrying. Then you start worrying. Yeah, you start thinking, what's going to go wrong?
Maybe I better f this up.
Sure, it's just like that. That's exactly right. I mean, that's exactly the kind of changes you go through. You do go through those. I mean, I've gone through so many of those kinds of those things, all the way up to and including just the thing of perversely just trying to make it be as miserable as I possibly
can. Sick masochism, I think is the term.
You can, I mean, but I wouldn't want it to have less range than that, you know. I mean, if it had less range than that, we would be cutting it off somewhere short of what its full capacity as an experience would be, you know what I mean? Seeing as how we're living our life, you know, through this medium of Grateful Deadness, you know, whatever that is, you know, we're using this as a medium. We definitely want for it to have as much room as it can possibly have, and that means it should be able to incorporate all the shading and all the changes that you could possibly put yourself through. You know, it should have that much room. Otherwise, we would be making it too small. When you're working in a band, I mean, you have to try to let everybody have their own voice the way they best see it, you know. And it's like Weir is you know, Weir is always going to seem to me to have. There's going to be always going to be things that are going to create friction. It's part of what's interesting between he and I, you know. And there's always going to be decisions that he's going to make musically that I'm not going to fully agree with, but I'll go along with them anyway. The way it is with Weir is that he's continually making discoveries that are like old discoveries sometimes for the rest of us, you know, or for some others of us. But on the other hand, you know, there are ideas that Weir has that I would never have had, you know, and in fact maybe only he has, and that's like his unique value, which is he's an extraordinarily original player, you know, in a world full of people who sound like each other, you know. I mean, really, he has really got a style that's totally unique as far as I know. I don't know anybody else that plays the guitar the way he does, with the kind of approach that he has to it. And it's that in itself is, I think, really a score, considering how derivative almost all electric guitar playing is, you know. I hear in my influences, you know, to some extent in myself. And with Weir, I have a real hard time recognizing any influences in his playing, you know. I mean, that I could put my finger on and say, well, that's something that Weir got from X and such, even though I've been there along for almost all of his musical development, you know what I mean? I didn't play with him since he was 16 or 17.
Does he hide it well, or what?
I just don't know where he gets it. It's interesting to play with him. He and I have worked together and have discussed our relationship, you know, guitaristically, you know, musically together so much that just there's a lot of our playing together, which is, I mean, it ends up being, you know, having an interesting complementary quality to it, you know, because we're both so different from each other. It doesn't feel much like 15 years. I mean, somebody had to tell me that it was 15 years. I wouldn't have noticed it.
Yeah.
Not in the course of minutes. I mean, I might have noticed it just because when it's the turn of the decade, you know.
Sure.
those round numbers.
Yeah, you notice that. Yeah, you tend to notice that stuff. But other than that, I think it would have escaped my attention completely.
I think you put it pretty well, like to Charlie in New West. Or I think it was maybe just a recent newspaper article where you said you're still basically stumbling along.
Yeah, really, really. All right, what we're doing isn't really that different from what we've been doing all along.
There's an article that I'm picking up a lot of stuff from various media, of course, but in BAM, a writer said that the Dead's concerts have never been about the presentation of polished product, but the development and disruption of musical process. And I wonder, is that still really true, or are you going through any kind of changes about the stage presentation?
No, we're not really going through any changes about it, and our stage presentation is free form. I mean, we don't go on. I mean, that is to say, we don't go on stage with a show prepared.
Yeah.
We've never done that. We don't do it now. And I would say the big difference is that our just functioning ability has gotten to a point where it's competent. You know what I mean? Like on our worst nights, we're competent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it used to be on our worst nights we were just bad. So people used to notice the tremendous contrast between our good nights and our bad nights much more. Although there's still a big difference between our good nights and our not so good nights. But even our worst nights now are like they're competent. And I walk away from them not feeling nearly so wounded as I used to feel. So emotionally, it's more regularly satisfying of an experience. It isn't nearly so crushing as it used to be when we don't have a real good night. And not only that, but it's more that the whole band feels that we don't have a good night rather than one of us. You know what I mean? It used to be that thing where everybody might have a good night but me, or one other guy, somebody else in the band, would say, geez, I had a terrible time tonight, and everybody else would say, gee, oh, that's weird. Or everybody would have a different opinion, So like that tells me that somewhere along the line, our whole aesthetic about what we're doing has kind of gotten more focused. I mean, we sort of more share a common vision, which we didn't used to do that, I don't think. And I know that I've come to appreciate what the other guys in the band are playing and what direction their ideas are taking and stuff like that much more in the last couple of years than ever before. So, but once again, to me, it feels really like we're starting this cycle rather than finishing something, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.